people in our generation don't really know what they're really voting for. They'll vote. Like for me, for example, I'm just voting what I voted for because my parents were doing it. So I just thought I'll just do that. So this is just to get a bit more informed with my friend Ben to my right, just to shed a little bit of light. So yeah, I would like to start by just saying like, what do you think, like the main changes? What are the changes that they're promising? The Conservatives.
First off, thanks for having me, guys. It's nice to speak about politics for a change.
He loves it.
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, changes are difficult. I mean, the first big thing that the Conservatives getting a majority last night means is that the first stage of Brexit will be done by the 31st of January.
Yeah, I saw that today. Yeah. Boris Johnson's gonna make sure that we leave EU by the end of Jan.
We'll have a set date instead of a new referendum.
Yeah.
I'm going to dispel a little bit of a misnomer. We won't leave the European Union on the 31st of January. We'll be officially out, but we'll still be in some sort of transition period for at least a little bit of time afterwards.
Yeah.
So the thing, 31st of January, we'll leave, but there'll still be all the stuff. Not much will change.
Yeah. So So on the 31st, they're gonna propose what leaving will look like.
Kind of. There'll be we'll say with it's like a bit like a divorce, right? So we've done the bit where we've said this is how we split it, and on the 31st that's how we split it, and then the next bit is like what people call alimony. So that'll be the bit where we decide how to move forwards after. So that's the change. That's going to be the difference. But the only thing is it's sort of become concrete rather than will we leave or won't we leave.
Yeah, speculation's done, innit?
Yeah.
No more speculation. I don't care to be honest.
You don't care at all. I don't think it won't affect you in any way.
I care slightly, but I didn't vote.
Why? Did you just not vote? Why?
I didn't vote.
Gonna vote.
I said I was gonna
had
vote.
the paper.
You know
He had the paper and everything.
You're gonna let me explain.
He had the poll card. Yeah.
You're gonna let me explain.
Nah,
Go
bro,
ahead,
Kevin
mate.
Hart.
Go ahead.
You have no voice if you didn't vote.
Yeah, but we lost anyway. I was gonna vote Labour, but we lost anyway.
Doesn't matter. And it's not we.
Well, the
Labour
people that
lost, wasn't involved.
the people obviously that voted Labour counts as we in it, so we lost.
That's part of the problem, though. There's loads of people like you.
Just talking and don't vote.
I guess. You know what it was, yeah? I registered for postal vote, innit?
Yeah.
So when it was actually time to vote, obviously
too late
the
when you
postal
done
it was too
But how
late.
is that? If you literally just says like you just post it.
Yeah.
How quick does it get to where it needs to? Because remember, that's what they're doing it for.
There's a deadline.
Fifth.
There's a deadline.
If not-
So I was meant to send it off by the 5th.
Yeah,
Oh, you do it before.
Yeah, of course.
Nah,
That's
I
the
can't.
match.
You can.
When
You
they
can't.
tally
I wasn't
it up.
registered.
What do you mean you weren't registered?
Like I wasn't registered to vote.
You done it by
Like,
post and you
No,
missed
but
the
it's
deadline.
can't because it's your address. So it doesn't
No,
matter.
but a postal vote is different.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
You can't just turn up on the day.
Yeah.
You can't do both. What do you mean?
Like if you register for a postal vote in this election, you had to post it. You couldn't just turn up and
that's
give
what
you
I'm
a
saying.
ballot in.
Okay.
So I fucked up.
So like, you know what I want to know? Do you know what I want to know? You see, like I was watching a video just this morning. There was some woman. There's people that work through the night and count up the votes, no? So I literally saw a woman rubbing out something.
Swear.
Rubbing out. Do you not see that
Because
video?
it's in pencil, innit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there like
Why is
do you
it
feel
doing
like-
pencil?
And especially after watching, I don't know if you man watch House of Cards, but after watching that, this made me become so like skeptical about politics in general. Do you feel like?
And
Bro,
the
exactly.
grey hack as well.
Exactly. Even
First
the
of all,
great
you
hack.
always bring a pen to an
That-
election.
I
But the thing is, I feel like they
Polling
use the
station.
pencil because obviously using a pen, you make a mistake, it just messes up. It just looks messy on the card, innit? So I feel like
Is that the best excuse they've got?
Like part of it is like
Just-
you can see the cross through the ballot, right?
Yeah.
So you know where people are voting, even if it's folded. Whereas the pencil, you can't see through it.
Okay.
So it just makes
It's
it
as simple as
harder.
that. That's why.
man, I don't trust them, man.
It's,
That's what I said,
it's-
trust them. Do you trust them?
You get a lot
Someone
of
that
that,
actually
but
studies it,
it's not like that. I mean, when you go in, all these people are hired for this. They go in, they give their night up to do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things you have to go and want to. And then there's representatives from all the parties
Yeah, of course.
that go to the count.
Yeah.
So if anybody was doing anything dodgy, it'd be spotted because it'd be against one of them.
I wish I had this
yeah,
video.
okay.
Okay, I wish I had this
It
video.
makes sense. But it's so funny how they overcompensate. Like, You know when they start coming to your house, like these
Yeah,
women come to my house like, oh, are you gonna vote
MPs.
today? You gonna vote? They'll be like,
I'm putting the stuff through your letterbox. I got the Labour stuff.
yeah. They're like, they knocked on the door. Are you gonna vote today? It's like, I heard my sister from the it's like, yeah, but I got a baby in it. So, okay, cool. Do you need a lift? A lift? What? Now what? We need a lift to the fucking thing.
Do you need a lift to the police
Yeah,
station?
it's like 2 minutes from my crib.
Yeah, they just want you to get out there.
I'm telling you, they want the votes. Like, I don't. It's like so funny how they overcompensate for it. Like now it matters, isn't it? Like I don't get it. I just feel like it's so fixed in a way. I've never really trusted it to an extent, but I don't know. I live in this nation.
I'm skeptical, by the way.
I'm skeptical because I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers, so I'm skeptical like by nature. But it's just funny how like
after watching House of Cards, it just made me. Do you know what I mean? I know you've seen it. This made me think. I don't know. But what I was gonna say, like in regards to also the NHS, what differences in their term are they trying to make? Like, how different would it be?
I think you'll find in the first 5 years, probably not a great deal of difference.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those things. The promised 50,000 new nurses, we already know that was a lie, because 19,000 of them are already NHS nurses already.
Yeah.
So they've accounted for 19,000 people where they said, oh, but they're not going to leave. So essentially they are new, but they would have left before.
Yeah.
So that's you guys are saying you're getting skeptical about it.
Yeah.
That's how it starts, because you hear that first thing, and then why listen to the rest of it, right? But it's done deliberately to turn everyone off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't engage with it and don't listen and you turn you off, why vote?
It just doesn't make sense.
The people who are going to vote are the people that are still going to get the voice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the people who actually vote are the ones that actually like proper. It's either the people who usually vote is the ones that either really, really, really care. Like they're, I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to classify them.
People that care, people that know,
People that are like-
and people like me that would just vote what their parents voted,
Yeah, there's those people.
and then people that just follow the trend. Because I feel like
That's following the trend.
Yeah, but the trend was to
our
vote
demographic
Labour.
was Labour. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's
Our
what I'm saying.
demographic was Labour.
That's
in
not,
London.
but like it actually went
the
viral.
thing is, I don't know whether I'm wrong. Like, I feel like the narrative right now for people in London is to hate on Boris Johnson, but I don't know whether that's right or wrong, to be honest. Because, like I said, I haven't really done the research.
You haven't
to
seen
know.
the manifesto.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether it's like what he's gonna do is gonna benefit me or not. So I don't know whether to hate on him or not.
Well, you can see that
Because
from the
people are
history.
hating on him. What do you mean? That's
From
what I'm
the
saying.
history.
Like before, it's like wasn't the thing to vote Conservatives, and that's what my personal.
So what I'm saying, they've been in power since what is it? Tony Blair. Like that was the last time we had like Labour.
Yeah, well, Gordon Brown.
Not Gordon Brown.
Oh,
since
gosh.
since
That
then.
man.
So
I forgot what it looks like.
so if you feel like it's gonna make any difference, you can just look at the history.
Vote for
Has it
something
really
different.
has it made a difference to you personally?
Again, I
since
haven't
they've
done
been in
the
power.
research.
So.
But that's
I
what-
didn't vote Labour. Sorry to cut you.
Go ahead.
I didn't vote Labour because of a trend, and also I don't think your vote is actually ineligible if you actually use a
searched
marker. Yeah, I did. I probably looked at 8 sources and they said you can use a pen if you choose. Whether it's right or wrong, this is what it says. Me personally, as I said to Tyson this morning, I vote with my financial interests and the people around me, what I think will benefit them. So the reason why I voted Labour is because the policies that they put in, to me, it ties into more
Makes sense, doesn't it?
with where I am now and where I want to be.
Yeah.
Whether it's wealthy, I understand the majority of the Conservatives and people that tend to vote Conservatives is people who already got a lot of money.
Middle class.
Like it tends to be the people with a lot of money. Everyone wants to get there,
Yeah.
but I think you also got to vote with where you are now, and I think the policies that Labour did have
That's
aligned
what
to
I
my
was
views.
trying to say. Like, yeah.
So that's why I voted for Labour personally.
Yeah.
But I don't mind if you vote Conservative. It doesn't really.
Yeah.
matter
That's
to
what I'm
me,
saying.
but
Like
that's
people
for
who
me.
actually vote Labour are the ones that are like in terms of the class level, they're a bit low in it. Because obviously they feel like they need that sort of. That's what I was thinking. Like NHS, I was thinking about that today. Yeah, I went to the gym this morning. I was thinking about like people fight for this NHS. Yeah, but it's like the ones that are fighting for the NHS properly are the ones that are like they're the ones that are either going to the hospital or the doctors like every so often. These are the ones I'm talking about. They don't have an illness. They just don't look after their health.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about these are the ones that are fighting for the NHS because they are not looking after themselves. So when you're doing that and you're fighting for the NHS, I don't get it. Like, you're not looking after yourself, therefore you need the NHS. So if you're looking after yourself, you don't really care about what happens to the NHS, really and truly. Like for me now, I can say I look after myself, but I don't really think about the NHS too tough because I don't actually go to the doctors. Really and truly.
I agree with what you're saying.
Obviously I want health for my friends and family. Yeah, that's why none of my friends and family like are really in a bad state in terms of health wise. But I'm thinking about like the people who are actually fighting for this NHS are the ones that are usually going to the doctors every other week because they don't look after themselves or every other month. This despite the people who are actually ill that need the doctor's help and the hospital's help. So
I've seen the bills and the bills look pretty.
No, but that's scaremongering.
What it's going to be?
No,
That's what I'm saying.
the
So wait, can I just
NHS
clarify
bills,
something?
like, say-
A conservative's trying to.
No, I don't.
privatise it.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody who's
It's hefty.
Not yet.
exactly. I don't
But
think
eventually-
anyone in charge is going to be able to.
I've seen all the jokes, but I don't even know. So, after their first 5 years, I'm guessing that's like the, I don't know, grace period, whatever, just so they could start implementing, like, start set the infrastructure, like, for their main change. So, like, after that 5 years, let's say, is that when they're trying to privatise it, or?
Well, let's break it down a little bit, because there's a lot of different services that the NHS offer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So as we were talking about this before, the first thing it starts is like, there's food in hospitals, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make sense to have a food company do it rather than the hospital pay staff? Because the food company will be better at doing food.
Yeah.
Right, that's how it starts.
Yes.
And then there's the cleaners. Why do you need cleaners? Why not? If there's a cleaning company who can do it for cheaper, and then
Don't
so
they do that already?
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the sort of start things. And most people, I would imagine, would agree that sounds sensible.
Yeah.
So then, if you've got nurses, why not hire a nursing company? Why does the hospital need nurses? So,
Wow.
but it's not much of a leap from if there's cleaners, why not get a cleaning company to do it? If there's nurses, why not get a nursing company to do it? Why don't
Rather
have
than
So what is it now? So I get what you're saying now, but the nurses now
the nurses
work
at the moment
directly for the NHS.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
So
come
they're
from
trying to
private
privatise
companies.
the, like, hire, so let's say nurses, but the people that work for the NHS, then they'll just get hired by these new companies or company that would work with the
Yeah, but
NHS.
that's what I'm saying. Nobody's just gonna come in and say, "Oh, it's privatised now. You need health
Yeah.
insurance," right? That it doesn't. It's never gonna
no, it's not gonna
Do
happen.
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Oh,
That's
right.
scary
because
tactics from both
that
sides.
that'd be too quick.
Yeah,
Most
it just
people wouldn't
doesn't work.
accept it anyway, and even then, it'd absolutely fall apart because you can't make changes
too
that
big a
big
change, yeah.
in one
Yeah.
go.
Too-
So it'd be like that, and then they'd say and then they do it about doctors. What's the point in having doctors if you do it? It all seems very logical arguments, but it's one of those things about. It comes down to values and who you think is better at running it. The reason that I say values is like private companies are there to make a profit, right?
Yes.
That's the point. That's literally the be all and end all of a private company, right? So if you have somebody that charges, say, 60p to do a particular service, and then they take 40p profit, then or you could spend £1 and nobody makes profit and invest the extra 40p. That's the difference. That's the question that we're talking about at the end of the day. So it depends about how you believe the money should be split up rather than. And also, nobody wants to get hit by a car and go to the thing and then have an insurance bill after.
Exactly. I've seen memes about that already.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The insurance bill
Private
is
healthcare
hefty.
now.
That's what I was thinking. They could never just change it like that. It's just like
Nah, it's not
I'm
possible.
going off on a little tangent here, but it's just like if they legalise weed, for example. Think about all the people that are in prison for weed charges. They're gonna be pissed. They're like, what? How are they gonna sort that out? So you can't just go boom.
It all stems
And
down
change
to
it.
really and truly, like these politicians actually don't know anything about human aspirations. They don't know anything about what we want as a community.
It's true.
They don't. That's why. How can you want to build societies and change this and change that when you don't know anything about human aspirations, about what any of us want?
They don't know.
It's true.
what-
That's
It
what
don't
they're
make
missing.
any
A lot
sense.
of them
That's
come
why it's
from-
so
it's
messy.
the
It
same-
never
Yeah,
works.
I
Then,
agree. I
like,
agree
would
with
you
that.
all
Never
agree
works.
that most
I
of,
agree.
or I would say you can even answer that better than most of us, but I agree with what Tyson said. I feel like most of them come from a demographic that don't align with, or isn't the
Different
same as the
background.
people that they're.
As the
Completely
majority of the
different
country.
It just doesn't make sense. It just
So
that's
they're
how
not
it
really
is.
gonna understand. Like, say for example, just for argument's sake, one of us became prime minister or whatever, we would know more than the recent ones about how it is to come from like humble beginnings, whatever, let's say, and what it is we need, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I understand what you're saying. I have a bit of sympathy, and this isn't a popular opinion, but I have a bit of sympathy with the politicians on this
It's not their
point
fault.
because how many of you guys want to be politicians?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I've never
but
thought
you
about
can't-
it. Do you know what that brings me to? Go on.
there
elaborate.
are-
I've got another question to
I
You
you.
can
know
say
a
that
few
about a
politicians.
lot of professionals, to be honest. Like,
But it's just the truth, though.
That's what I'm, like.
So what-
how
go
do
on,
we get
elaborate.
people that are representative of us, unless
Yeah.
people like us
Want to.
go and do politics?
I know,
Yeah.
but then again, you can say that the system's a little bit broke.
how many want
the
to?
people who are pushing into power,
We
you
shouldn't
can
be
say that the
discouraged by
system's a
that.
bit.
Just because something's hard, just because I know what you're saying. Like it's like we see that system and we think, oh, that's difficult, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
do it. Like we shouldn't
I-
be discouraged like that. He's
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
We
yeah, I
should
get it,
feel
I get
to
it.
like do it.
Yeah, of course. Like I don't look at the TV and feel like, oh, I hate Boris Johnson. I don't feel any type of way. Like,
Yeah.
like the other, what is it?
He
Like a
doesn't
couple months
represent
ago,
me.
like his ex was on BBC, like splurting out his news and that. She was. I just don't understand. It's just so weird. It's so weird. Your ex shouldn't be coming up to BBC saying that this, that, all of this nonsense. It's just
You
a
mean,
weird.
you mean that blonde woman, right?
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that's not his ex, right?
Who's it? Who's it?
That the reason that was a big story was because she's a business person, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A married business person.
Yeah.
And he took her on business trips, without declaring that he knew her, right? So that's like me taking Amani on a business trip at work, and not saying that I know him, and spending 100 grand taking someone there. But there's a bigger story because he said that she was giving.
a side
tax.
chick? Is she a side chick or something?
Nobody knows what happened
That's
behind
the
closed doors.
implication, right?
So he
He said they
spent
had affairs,
whose money
though.
was this that he was spending? Our money, tax money.
Yeah, look, when he was London mayor.
Who else's money is it?
And he's the prime. Bro, it's so fucked.
But if
Donald
they had an
Trump's
affair,
president.
doesn't that make it?
Boris
Doesn't that make
Johnson. Has he
her
got a
an
wife
ex?
or something? Even if it's not his wife,
true.
even if it's just his
Anyway.
whoever, he didn't declare it. Like it's wrong, innit?
Yes,
Like,
it's the fact that
example used.
the fact it
Such
is
a
he
weird-
he can sleep with whoever he wants basically, but the fact is that if he's not declaring personal interest when he's
Yeah.
using taxpayers' money, then that's the
Surely
issue.
that's breaking the law. Is it not?
So what is he? Is that
Well,
this an ongoing
sounds a bit
trial?
random.
What's going on with that?
There's a
Borderline.
there's an
Yeah.
investigation by the London City Council. I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly what the Greater London Authority to see whether he's misused public funds, but. I don't know.
So if you got convicted of that, is he still going to be prime minister?
Yeah, probably. He's probably not going to face criminal prosecution for that.
Hell no.
What? It was just
Even
get
after
charged.
him disrespecting the Queen as well.
What did he do? What happened?
I can't
Disrespect
remember
the
story.
Queen?
Yeah, he done something to the Queen like a few months ago.
Now, this is where, and I find it hard because we're talking about maintaining interest in politics.
Yeah.
I'm going to use a word now that's going to turn everyone off because he's talking about prorogation.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Which is where they postpone Parliament
Oh, that.
for a period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was what Boris Johnson said, that he was going to use it for certain types of ways, and then he didn't, and he didn't need to, and they said that the Queen didn't need to do it for that long.
Because she done it. She, like, that's what I love. Remember when we had this discussion at uni, I think, about what powers the Queen has now? Do you remember?
Nah.
I remember us discussing this.
She has a
Not
lot of power, though.
Like, what can she, what influence does she
Yeah,
have?
yeah,
Like, what
yeah.
influence does the Queen have
The Queen
now?
brings tourism, innit? Just like anything else.
No, I don't mean that, but
No,
something,
no, she
obviously
has-
that.
obviously
I mean,
that's
what's-
one of the
It tells her she
factors.
has to sign up.
Does
to
she
that.
is their
just,
main-
just sign something, and like she'll like what influence
signs off.
politically does she have now?
She watched The Crown.
Obviously, we know. I don't know. It might actually.
That will actually help.
Obviously, before we know, monarchs just had all the power, and whatever. But now, obviously, it's changed to Parliament.
Yeah.
Like, what can she do now in terms of like politically?
She's been the longest reigning as well.
It's more like what
Is she a symbol now?
Yeah, it's very difficult because if the Queen was to do anything, there would be a constitutional crisis. Is how we describe it.
So she could if she wanted to.
So technically, yes.
Yeah, but she has to play the background.
But yeah, this is the thing. So the Queen, there has to get royal assent for every law that's passed, right? So she has to sign a law.
Yeah.
Technically, it would not be law if she didn't sign it.
Yeah,
But a monarch's not going to
not do
Go
that.
not
against
going
the
to
majority
put
vote,
themselves
yeah.
in that position.
Yeah.
Themselves, their family, all that kind of stuff. It's just not worth it. So, and it's that kind of thing that essentially, and this is a bit archaic, but the government, it's Her Majesty's government, right? That's the title, the official title of the government. So they act on her behalf. So they're exercising her prerogative, as it's called.
Yeah.
But in reality, it doesn't really function like that. I mean, if the Queen came out and said one way or the other about how she felt like Brexit, it would change the political landscape forever.
It would change the
She
share
has that kind of
It would change the
influence.
share
It's
price.
mad.
Yeah.
She has all
She's
the
not
power,
really
but
that.
she like because of the way society's changed, she just doesn't do anything.
Of course.
Like-
well,
like
what
that,
what can
that's
she
crazy.
do? The woman
could
is
do
like
everything.
old. Like,
She
there's
can
no
do
point
what
of
she
her even
wants.
trying to come out. Like,
And her views might align with what's going on anyway.
yeah,
she
like
might
so
not
it's just
change
mad.
anything.
It's
Yeah,
so
you
mad
might
for
not
her to
change.
even come
Probably
out.
voted Conservatives, bro.
It's so mad for her to
Her
come
views
out.
align
I
with
don't think she voted at all.
Do you think we'll actually? Do you
Doesn't
think we'll see a
vote.
black
Of course she
president in
doesn't
this
vote.
country?
What, Prime Minister?
Prime
Yeah,
Minister.
wherever we
eventually.
have, fam. See, I don't even know
Eventually, we've got an Asian mayor.
who that Donny.
But like, it's
Can't.
it goes back to
You
what
say
he
mayor.
said. We have to. Yeah, wanting to be MPs and stuff like that. That relates to what I was going to ask about. Like, do you feel like they teach? Well, I don't feel like they do. They teach enough about politics within like school. Like,
They
when we
don't
was in
teach it at
secondary
all.
school,
Yeah,
I
they
don't
do.
really remember getting.
How the hell did they become
I remember the
politicians? then?
no, I don't mean them. I mean us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you
I don't
got
remember
taught in
being
school
taught it.
much
I just
more?
learned it
Oh,
myself.
like politics.
Yeah.
I'd rather learn about money.
No, I get that.
finances than
I get
politics.
that, bro. It's important.
I don't.
though.
As
I
a
feel like
question,
it's
Do you
not.
really
so-
think, bro,
I feel-
politics is everything you do? If you say you'd rather learn about money,
Yeah,
you
but I
have
feel
a
like
good understanding.
that stuff is much more a lot to do with history. I feel like it ties in with a lot of history.
I don't mean
feel
learning
like so
about
so much researchable
like,
stuff.
Neville Chamberlain's term and all that shit. I don't mean learning about like the affairs of that. I mean like having a decent, like a better understanding. I don't feel like school really taught me much about it.
Yeah, it
I
did.
mean,
I agree with you, man.
I don't
that's
really
it.
remember.
It's not- I agree with you,
I remember
but it's
learning
not
the
something that I would
basics.
fight
Like I know
about.
the basics, but it could, like they could have even like instilled more of a want to learn about that. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's a preference, isn't
What
it?
do you guys think?
No, I
Your
agree.
opinion.
I don't know.
I
I
think
agree
they
with
should
you, but I
do
just feel
more.
like I won't. I was not something I'd fight for.
Yeah, I don't think it should be like
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
I think it should be
mandatory. I
part of
don't
the
think it should be
curriculum.
mandatory. I think it should be
I
like.
feel like there's so much
like,
more
say
important things in this
GCSEs or
country.
A-levels.
No, I
Yeah.
mean have a whole section. Like when we done what PSHC or whatever that
PSHE.
thing. Like when we learn about how to
Oh,
make
history.
CVs and all of that shit. I feel like that should have
Me
been.
personally,
been
I
put more in the
think
syllabus.
it's top 5 most important things for people to
Yeah,
learn.
yeah.
So I think taxes,
That's some money,
politics.
innit?
Yeah, exactly. I think it all comes under one. I think it's not taught enough, and a lot of people don't know why they're voting. It's plain to see. That's why a lot of people follow memes and Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, but that didn't even work.
This
They
system
don't even
is
work,
so-
though.
It didn't
No,
work
but
yeah,
it does.
because we're not represented in the bigger.
Yeah, no, facts.
Most our demographic, pretty much all of our demographic voted Labour. I would like.
It works from
not
what
big
you
enough.
see.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why London was
It's not
still
gonna make us win
a
what they
Labour
voted.
stronghold, because I get it, the demographic probably suits Labour a lot more. But I think a lot of people just went to vote. As you said, you went to vote just because your mom told you to or your friend told you to.
Yeah.
I didn't tell
But
you.
that just goes
They
to show
like,
like
just
social
follow their
media
ideals.
ain't that big then.
It just shows just
No,
clueless.
bro, there's so many different, bro. It's
So
like,
just our part is
that's what I'm saying. This is
not
our
even-
what we saw.
yeah.
Because I
deep
thought, like I'm saying,
social
what I
media
saw, I
is-
thought they was gonna win, but clearly I haven't done enough research to even to be thinking that. That's what the hindsight of. The
I didn't see one meme about Diana Abbott yet, but
Who?
do you know the Labour woman? Yeah,
don't know, bro.
but my friends who is not, I wouldn't say in my sort of demographic, my other friends was talking about when she came out with wearing 2 left shoes. Obviously, it was to show that she's very left wing. But when they was telling me memes on that, I didn't even know that was going on. So that just shows there's different parts of social media.
Like,
and
we
what
don't
we
see.
see is only one bit of it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
So-
say to Matt. Well, the social media you see, let's say for Instagram, you have to. Let's just go back. It's algorithm, so you only see whatever you like.
Yeah.
You're not seeing
You
the
see
whole of
certain-
Instagram.
exactly.
Like
You only see
you're only
certain-
seeing whatever you like or whatever you post or whatever you hashtag. It's just that. That's your lane in Instagram. So you never see the wider demographic or the wider population. That's just how it is. So you sometimes we formulate an opinion, but it's only to a small population.
Yeah.
Really and truly.
Fair
So
enough.
Ben, just a
enough,
question.
fair enough.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you feel about corporate tax? Because that's a big issue on both sides. I think conservatives will fight for a flat rate because they're under the impression that if it's a flat rate, then they're more likely to pay the tax that, say for example, anybody who was going to set it. So if it was a flat rate, then it's easier.
Everybody pays.
Then it gives back to whoever, how they want to set up the money, which is up to them. How they want to split the money is up to them. So if it's a flat rate, then they give back and then they can help whoever they want to help. Obviously, with Labour, they want a certain tax rate for the rich. As you know, the country's who have the biggest cash. I mean, the companies that have the biggest cash flow, like Apple, Amazon, all that, tend to pay the lowest tax out of all
It's
the
not,
big
it's, you know what that is?
out
It's
of all
the tax
the biggest
break.
corporations
So
and all that. So
I get it.
how do you feel about that? Because people go back and forth about whether we should tax the rich more or less, or if it should be a flat rate.
You know,
regardless.
people. Oh, so you go.
Can we split it into two things?
Yeah.
Do you mean full on just corporation tax, or are you talking about income tax in a wide, like a
Yeah,
tax
in a
in a
wider
wider
scale.
sense? That's a difficult one. I don't necessarily believe in a flat rate of tax because effectively what that means is that
Everyone gets taxed the same.
everyone gets taxed the
Yeah,
same
exactly.
rate. And it would be true to say at £100,000,
Yeah.
you probably got more that you can contribute
Yeah,
than
I
somebody
agree.
at 20.
Yeah.
So for the first 20, it makes sense for this percentage and then that percentage and
Yeah.
then that percentage. So I do believe in that. A flat rate can be, regressive is what they call it. So
Yeah.
everyone pays the same. And obviously, the difficulty with that, the reason why sometimes it makes economic sense to tax the rich more
Yeah.
than people on a lower rate of income is, and it is a little bit sad, but the people on a lower rate of income are more likely to spend the money that they've got,
Yeah. Agreed.
right?
No financial,
Whether
no
it's
financial
silly,
intelligence.
whether it's
Yeah,
whether it's
of
that
course.
or whether it's because of necessity.
Yeah,
Just
because
going
you just
get
have
less
to.
of it.
Because if you haven't got any money, you're going to spend it all on food, and then the moment you get an extra 200 quid, whatever, you're going to go out and spend that because you don't get any luxuries
You're gonna enjoy
normally.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that's why they have the income tax threshold, right? It's
Yeah.
like £11,500 or whatever it is.
12, I think, actually.
Maybe it's just gone up, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But the point of that is that those people are going to spend that money.
Yeah.
And so you go and spend that money in a shop, the person in the shop's got a job. You also spend 20% on VAT every time you buy something. So
Which is
you're
added already.
paying tax again. You're paying the money back again. But it's circulated through the economy then. And the person in the shop gets paid money, they go and buy things, they buy it from someone else, and then they get employed, and that's how it circulates. So the reason why it makes sense to tax people with less income less is because they're more likely to spend it. So it goes through the economy more quickly than if somebody's just saving it in an ISA or whatever,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Does that still count? It's still like that because obviously, like the bank, like technically we don't have that money because if, like we all know, like if everyone drew out their money at the same time, the whole banking system would crash. So like,
And it
you
never
know, you're saying
circulate,
it goes
innit?
through the money because
It's digits.
goes through the economy because you're spending it. But if it's saved in your bank, isn't it still? I know you have access to it, but because we have access to it, technically they won't count it as it going through the economy. Is that?
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. If it's in a bank, then the bank is still going to be there most likely because you will go for big banks. That's not going to change. So the employment rate won't change on the basis of the money that you use because it's just sitting there, right?
Yeah,
So there'll be a bit of interest, there'll be a bit of tax to the government, but outside of that, you won't really get much money through it. It's all about creating that cash flow, as they call it, right? And say it's the same with a private business, but the point being is that the money flows through from one person to the next, and it keeps that shop open, keeps that hairdresser, whatever. And so that's the point of it. And then they pay tax, and then they move on to the next thing, and it just keeps it ticking over.
Yeah.
And that's why people do it like that. If we're talking about corporation tax, that's slightly different.
Yeah.
You're talking about Amazon and Google not paying tax. That's a little bit more of a tricky thing because on the one hand you want to attract people to come into the country, businesses to set up, so you don't want a massively heavy tax burden. But at the same time, you don't want it to be the point where they're taking the mick either, because you want to be able to benefit from the profit that's generated.
Which they are taking a bit currently.
I'm sure there was like.
But they also give a lot
was something
away.
about that.
So it's a tough one.
What do you mean?
It's really tough
Like
because
give away?
if you hear Bill Gates say that he says he actually doesn't even mind being taxed heavily. He says he doesn't mind it.
They tend
So
to give away to their own charities,
I
which is a bit weird. If you look at, if you dig a bit deeper and find out where they actually give their money away,
Bill
a lot
Gates
of
is
it
building
comes
stuff
back.
in Africa. Like.
No, I'm not
Ends up in some
just
offshore
singling him out. But I'm
Yeah.
they tend to people like all the tax when they write off tax and certain things that they do, they tend to give it away to things that they're going to profit back from.
Of course.
Regardless,
Of
so
course.
it just looks good when they say these numbers and they've given away X amount of money. So
But then again, the rich will be
hard
like,
one.
why are we getting taxed higher?
when
Because
they've
we're
worked
doing
for it,
well.
that's
When
what they're
we're
going to
doing
say.
well.
Of course.
And I get it.
So
Why
do
should
I.
we be taxed higher? Because people don't want to work hard and earn
What
a
we
career,
did, yeah.
exactly, or do well for
There's a
themselves.
flip side to it.
It's a real flip side. So I get it. And that's how I feel. Sometimes I do feel about that. Like people are screaming, the rich should be taxed higher, or whatever. I feel like it's because you don't want to do much. You don't want to do much with your life.
But I don't think the majority of people don't want to work hard. I think
Nah,
first of all,
it's not that.
I think that is
definitely-
bullshit. I think there is a lot of people that just want to live off the dough. Like it's facts. They just want to.
Yeah, some people are just comfortable.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It makes
live
sense
off
for
the
them
dole.
to
So they
just
can
not
scream it.
work and do that. But I think the majority of people that still want to get somewhere in life, I think there's more of those people than when we just single out people that just want to live off the dole. So I think using that, I don't think is a good example.
Nah, it definitely is.
Can I use like if we take a small business, for example, and the reason that people say it, portray it like that, and it might be right or wrong, you might agree or disagree, it's a political opinion.
Yes.
Is that, for example, you are a shop owner,
Yes.
right? You've got a small shop. You don't do anything, you just own the shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
You employ the staff are the ones that do the hard work. You just own the shop,
Yeah.
right? And they come in, they do the 8 to 5 or whatever the shift is, and they do all the work for you, and you sit and you get the profit from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so people are saying that necessarily the rich people aren't necessarily doing more
It's
work
true.
than the
Yeah,
people
but
that are
that's
there.
just-
we live in a world
before
today.
that,
It's
and
very
then
true.
again,
I was listening to
That's
something the other day. Yeah, I was listening to something the other day, and like they said, the rich are rich because they get other people to do the work for them.
It don't make
And
sense.
and I feel like I feel like it makes sense.
It
though.
does. Sorry. It does make sense. Like it doesn't make sense. That how are you gonna go throughout your whole career trying to build something? You're doing all the labor. So when you have the opportunity to employ people to do stuff for you, that's the whole point. That's what you're supposed to do.
Working smart.
You're
not hard.
supposed to do that. Like it doesn't make sense. You're actually supposed to do that. It doesn't. There's people who want to work for someone, and there's people who want to hire people to work for them. Like there's people in this life who are literally just gonna work for people for the rest of their life. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, but it's just the way it has to be.
It's the way it is.
Yeah, it's just
I
the way
think
it
Everyone
is.
can't make it.
Like I'm not saying I disagree with you because I think it's a very valid point.
Yeah.
What I want to put a little bit of a spanner in the works to
Yeah.
the theory because I think we're forgetting about inheritance.
Oh,
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
No,
going to say there's two
inheritance
different
tax.
Just
things.
inheritance.
What I'm saying
in
is,
general.
if
If
you
you
inherit
someone that works for your
and
money,
stuff,
and then someone that inherits it.
that's
Well,
the
clarify.
thing.
Inheritance tends to be 50%, isn't it? When if you got X
Oh,
amount of
you're
money
talking
and
about
then
inheritance,
you
like-
give the money
like-
down.
Oh,
I'm not-
I
You
meant-
tend to
no,
get
what do you
50%,
mean?
but what they do now, don't they just give you, like, say for example, they'll give them a house and then you only pay 5%. So in the end, what they've given you, like physically, you just end up paying less tax on it anyway. So I think a lot of people, because
You're
I'm
talking
not
about
sure if
literally
it's
getting
still
inheritance
supposed
from
to be
people that
50%.
make a business through inheritance.
Yeah.
I just mean like actually
Yeah, I
passing
wanna
down.
clarify
Like,
that still.
when
Yeah.
the
Let-
rich
let-
pass down to the kids.
Let's split all the different threads off. So what I mean is, we're talking about that shop owner.
Yes.
If their dad owned the shop
Yes.
and then they got the shop
Yeah. That's
and then still didn't do anything because they were
Yeah.
hiring the people, and then they would make all the profit still.
Yeah,
yeah.
Have they built anything? That's the question. I mean, I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that's
Have
something
they-
that we have to
I
think about.
see where you're coming from.
Isn't
but
that
like-
isn't
but
that
that's
the reason
the-
why?
But that's the
Some
reason.
people that they shouldn't be
Yeah,
taxed.
but that's
They still
the
shouldn't be
but
taxed.
like
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I feel like they're just living
it's
off the fruits of
Someone else's labor.
someone else's
I mean,
labor. But
Which is their
Isn't
family.
that-
Somebody
isn't
had
that-
to
isn't
work
that our
hard. though.
royal? What do you call it? Isn't that how our thing is right
It's
now?
meant to go. No.
Our-
Yeah.
What do you call it? The queen, like, what do you call
The
it?
royal family.
Yeah, the royal. Isn't that how it is right now? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That's why people work hard to get into these positions
You don't want-
to
you
make them to make
you're supposed-
the people
yeah,
below
yeah.
them
exactly.
easier.
But then it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be taxed. Because Ben's not even saying this right. He's just giving up the different
Yeah, of
angles.
course.
Because like the same way you're saying, as someone that's en route to becoming as successful as you want to be, you're not there yet. But you wanna. The point that he was making was that.
You see
If they
yourself
ever
in
work
their
for it-
shoes eventually.
Yeah, you see yourself.
yeah,
Basically,
of
you're putting
course.
yourself in their shoes. Basically, someone that wants to make that kind of money, and then you're putting yourself in that mind frame. Like, why should I be taxed on the money that I've worked for? But then he's saying that if you've inherited it, that you haven't even really worked for it. So
Yeah.
why shouldn't you be taxed? And plus, they have the capital there. So instead of just having it saved in a bank account,
Okay, no.
instead of having it saved in a bank account, if they get taxed more, whatever, they might have to spend more basically,
Yeah.
so that there's constant cash flow within the actual economy.
They
Basically.
do get taxed on inheritance.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You
thinking.
do. I mean, you can give gifts, right? But it has to be.
exactly.
Gifts is one of
It
those,
has to be
yeah.
7 years before you die.
Yeah, it's like the house, innit? How
That's why
many
they,
years
they
before?
do it early.
7.
It has to be 7 years before you die as well, where they take a percentage of it. That's
Yeah.
what I found out. Not too long ago. I was like,
Yeah.
50%, don't they take?
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
40, I think it's 40. You know?
You do it
It's-
before,
it's-
it's only
it's
5%,
ridiculous
which
amount,
is
though.
that's why they get it.
It's one of those. It's one of those
You
things.
can evade that though, I think.
Again.
if you do it before 7 years.
These things, and this is why I think politics gets a bit of a bad reputation. I don't really like people thinking about politics as the system or even the political parties, right? It's a question of priorities. So you're talking about learning about tax, which is really good. But the reason we decide on tax is to decide how much money we want, how fair it is in society. Now, you might think that having low tax is fair. Absolutely fine. There's a really strong argument for that.
Yeah.
Some people think that having high tax is fair. Again, there's a really strong argument for that as well. The tax system just doesn't come out of thin air. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So the people that we elect are the people that decide that. So then you go and learn that. But learning the tax system is almost like learning a symptom of an illness, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we still need to learn the politics before that. Some people are going to have NHS as their top priority. That's what you were
Yes.
saying,
Yeah.
right? But that's going to then bleed into what they think about the rest of the world
That's what I'm saying.
and tax.
It's just believing one man's or party's theory over another, innit?